Hello everyone, welcome to Hue at Home. I'm Tracy Koga. It is all about the wonderful world of social media and how you too can have your own platform. I'll be here on the Hue set with Linda Drosdowech, she's a life and business coach, and then we'll bring in the experts, SNS Creative and Genny B from Genny B Loves Coffee. The Hue Chat Room starts now. Well, welcome Linda to the Hue studio. I promised, you would be here in person. It's taken 2 years, but but it's been good.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and it's so nice to be talking to you right in person and admiring each other's nails, and it's so different. I appreciate seeing everyone on the screen, but it is so nice to be up close and personal.
And you know what? I think this is what we want to talk about. You are a business and life coach. And yes, we've been through a lot. But tonight it's talking about women. Whether it's women entrepreneurs or whether it's just women going for what they truly want. And I think you exemplify that with what you've done. So take us a little bit on your journey, how you've come out of the pandemic. I know that we're still kind of in it, but I'm saying now we should be talking post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic. One of the themes, of course, today is talking about podcasting and women and voice. And I would say podcasts were a huge coping technique that I had throughout the whole pandemic. Mm-hmm. I would walk either, I just got the dog or by myself, and having a woman's voice, often, I would say most of the podcasts I listen to are women in business, and having that connection, that very intimate experience of having somebody in your ear as you're walking or as you're doing the dishes or whatever, that was a way for me of connecting with other women, hearing their stories, how they were getting through different coping mechanisms and different ideas for inspiration. So for me, post-pandemic right now, it is really, I want to say, even increasing that sense of connection and that intimacy of talking to women, helping women really go for their dreams. And one of those things is admitting what you want in life. That's a big thing for a lot of people. We hold ourselves back. We say, I'm okay. I'm content with what I have, which is wonderful. I'm all for expressing gratitude. But we hold ourselves back and we play small. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I like to do with the women that I support, who are mostly entrepreneurs, is to help them play big. Help them to step into the things that they've always wanted to do and help them find their voice. A lot of women entrepreneurs that I talk to are still reluctant to show up on social media, still reluctant to, I hear a lot of women saying, I'd love to have a podcast. I'd love to do Instagram lives or, do something like this where they're sharing their stories, they're on video, and they hold themselves back. And they don't, it's a lack of confidence, it's self-doubt, it's feeling maybe they don't have an interesting enough story. And I love being able to support them and help them through those challenges. And so that they can put their message out, that they can feel heard, that they can I love the ripple effect of all of this stuff is, I support one woman to go after what she wants. And usually a woman in business is helping other women. And, the ripple effect can be just so huge. So especially with things like podcasts and video, it can have such a huge impact. So post-pandemic, it is having an impact, using your voice, playing big.
Okay, and so that takes me to my first question to you is, you have a podcast. What is it all about?
My podcast, the All in Gold podcast, is all of those things. It's helping women identify things like the imposter syndrome, things, the perfectionism, big one for women. A big reason that a lot of women procrastinate. They're trying to get things perfect. You know, they don't want to put things out until it's 100%. I was actually just having this conversation with my daughter. You and I were talking about my daughter, and she's applying for different colleges right now. And she looks, and this statistic has been proven, she looks at the list of qualifications, and unless she has 110% of those qualifications, she won't apply. Where they've done studies that most men who will look at a list of qualifications for jobs will do, if I've got 50% of those qualifications, I'm going to apply. And right off the bat, you're holding yourself back because you're trying to do it perfectly. So for me, my podcast is about helping women identify those things. And I'm very open with my own journey, my own struggles about being seen, being heard, taking up space, all of those things that that women struggle with when they are trying to balance life at home, life with a business, life with a job, kids, partners, and really just trying to be a support for women who are trying to play a bigger game.
Wow. Well, that leads me now, I guess I'm going to open it up to our lovely experts. I'm calling you tonight, but I want to give a big warm welcome to Shalinda and Natalie, and of course, Genny. Genny, well, you know, we're going to get you to retell your story, but I think it now has a broader, I guess, exposure now. So I'm so happy for that. But I'm going to go with Shalinda and Natalie. So you actually have a kind of a closer relationship with Linda and Genny, I guess, in a way. So let's talk about women in podcasting. Where do we stand versus men? And then let's talk about how your creative juices have helped these two women in their careers. Shalinda. And you just have to unmute yourself. Oh, she's still muted. You're still muted, Shalinda, I think. Oh, and we've lost Natalie too. We had you girls.
Can't hear us.
There we go. Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
A little, so you know what? It's technology, right?
That's life. We're not perfect.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's why we have to keep on doing it and doing it. Okay, good. All right, so you heard me. So, yeah, Shalinda.
Go for it, Shalinda.
Well, when it comes to women in podcasting, I think that a lot of women are discouraged because they truly don't believe, like Linda said, that they have a story to tell, and everyone has a fantastic story to tell. And I think a lot of women get caught up in the qualification process where they think that they need to have, a degree in some sort of topic to have a podcast or to have that credibility behind the words that they're speaking into this podcast. But I think we all have to recognize that our perspective is what makes us all very unique. And that's exactly why podcasting is so diverse and gives women the chance to tell their stories.
And Natalie, what is the percentage of women in podcasting versus men?
Honestly, I have no idea what the percentage is. I do know that I only listen to women who podcast. And, we can maybe look up the percentage, but I'm not sure. Our business, all of our clients are women. That's not that we wouldn't support men, but it's just like Shalinda said, it gives a voice. It helps women grow their businesses, grow different audiences. And a lot of the times, the thing that's holding them back is, I don't have enough to say. How could I ever talk for 9 hours, for 9 episodes? Or, and they're just like, exactly like Linda said with the application process, I'm not an expert. I'm not a university degree. I don't have blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to podcast because I can't speak on it. When we all have a story, we can all speak on it, especially if you own a business. There's other women out there you can help by telling how you started your story, how you got the courage to, actually launch the business, X, Y, and Z. And so that's what we do for these fantastic ladies and for our other clients and within our business in general.
So Genny, I know that first of all, you started out with a really cool story, celebrating your 60th birthday, visiting 60 coffee places. What was it, or how did Natalie and Shalinda help you get to where you are with your podcast?
And thank you for that, Tracy. Yeah, it's interesting. It started actually with Linda because I kept not running into Linda, but we would be on different events and whatnot, and Linda was always there. And I think it was on one of your Tuesday afternoon sessions, and Linda popped in and is like, "Hey, nice to see you again." And I said, "Oh, let's meet for coffee." So we met for coffee over Zoom, and we were just kind of chatting. And right on the spot, I said, "You know what? I want to book you for a coach for a month." And I thought, okay, start with a month, four, I think it was Wednesdays that we agreed on. So 4 Wednesdays. And I had, of course, I'm always got my fingers in all kinds of different pies and whatnot. And Linda helped me focus and kept drilling down. Okay, so what is it you really, really want to do? Just tell me, like right now, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do Coffee with Genny B. Okay, so let's work on that. And so she set up, assignments for me and homework, and let's work on this, and let's really figure out exactly what you want to do. And then Linda was telling me about her podcast and working with Natalie and Shalinda. And so I asked her for their contact information. So I'll never forget, I'm sitting, I went to Starbucks, and I'm sitting in my car having coffee, and I'm talking to Natalie, and she's telling me, okay, all this stuff for podcasting. Of course, I knew nothing about it. And then she said, okay, so, here are our rates for this and this and this, and this is our rate for a year. And without any hesitation, I said, okay, yeah, I'm booking you for a year. Not knowing what the heck I'm going to talk about, not caring, not even caring at that moment where I'm going to get the money to pay for it. I just knew that I had this feeling inside of me that if I didn't do it at that moment, if I didn't just jump in and put my faith in that this was going to happen and work out for me, I wouldn't be here today. And so I took that leap of faith, and here we are.
Wow.
You were an amazing client, Genny. I gotta say, because each week you would show up and you were so willing to just go with the process, and you were such an action taker, and you were an ideal client.
Oh, thanks. Well, you're a great coach, and you helped me really focus and drill down into what exactly I wanted to do.
Nice. And now you're sharing this amazing podcast with people. I love it.
I know.
Thank
Coffee
you.
with Genny B. What was your stumbling block into getting into podcasting?
And again, it's interesting, the theme, women supporting women. I knew I wanted to have a podcast because coaches that I admired really had podcasts, and I was like, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to offer that support to my clients. But I knew if I tried to figure it out on my own and do, like, MacGyver it, and I knew I would never get anywhere, so I didn't hesitate to hire professionals. Shalinda and Natalie were fantastic, and it was like, was, for me, the stumbling block was, and a lot of women in business do this, they don't invest in themselves, they don't invest in help, they don't invest in, having people come in to do things for them. They think, I'll do everything myself, I'll build a website, it'll take me 6 months, and I'll, instead of, spending the money, I'll just do it myself. And it can be a real stumbling block for women. And it's saying, like, as Genny said, like, I'm just going to do this. I'm trusting my gut. I'm committing to a year. I'm hiring professionals, and I'm going for it. And that's an amazing, amazing story.
Well, that must make you two feel pretty good, Shalinda and Natalie.
It really does, because Linda was actually our first ever podcasting client. And she was our first client, and we had just started our podcast 2 weeks prior. Shalinda and I sat down in a coffee shop, and I had always wanted this podcast called The Sick and Successful. But I wasn't going to do it myself, and MacGyvering it, like Linda said, was not going to happen. And then Shalinda and I met through Everybody campaign at Organic 10, again, women supporting women. And we became friends instantly. Like our personalities just meshed, and we were together at coffee. And we said, like I said, you have an incredible journey of beating cancer. I have a journey of a chronic illness, Crohn's disease. Let's talk to women about that they can be successful while dealing with life-threatening illnesses, while dealing with things that come up in life that feel like they're going to crash and fall down, but you can still pick yourself up and be successful. So that week, Shalinda obviously has broadcasting experience, 15 years of it. She's in radio. I have a degree in marketing and social media background. So we did it. It was like two pieces of a puzzle, one side of the business, one side radio, broadcasting. We started a podcast. The following week, we're like, that was easy. It wasn't hard for us because what I couldn't do, she could, and what she couldn't do, I could. And so we were like, why don't we help women do this? And I remember it like it was yesterday. We're like, yeah, let's do it. And I think 2 days later, Linda and I were speaking, and we met with Linda. And that week, Linda signed on, and there came our business, SNS Podcasting.
It all happened very quickly. Like, and I think it was because, like Natalie said, like we were able to bring those two pieces together that needed to happen in order to, make this happen for other women. And that's what we were hearing time and time again. I would constantly have women say to me, oh gosh, I would love to have a podcast. I just wouldn't even know where to begin. Yeah. And that's why we wanted to create a business where we simplified that for women, where they only could just hit record, speak their story into a microphone, and then we take care of the rest, and the rest of the world gets to hear what they have to say.
And the beautiful thing is Linda was our first client, and Genny was one of our most recent clients. So over the last 2 years, I think we started in 2019, the end of 2019, and here we are. And it's such a beautiful, like, full circle moment to be sitting here with these two women that, like, they're so successful in their businesses and their podcasts, and it's, sponsorships and all this stuff coming from it because me and Shalinda believed in ourselves for a moment. And then look at, like Linda said, the ripple effects.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about monetization, sponsorship. How does that all work? I mean, you can have, and I'll say, like, from our experience, iLikeHue, we've got close to almost 300 episodes of content out there. But, so what is the key, girls?
Let's let Genny speak on this one.
Oh, Genny, yeah.
What's your experience, Genny?
Well, it's interesting because when I used to work in fundraising, so I was a fundraising coordinator for 10 years. And so my job was to ask for stuff. So ask for money, ask for sponsorships, and put myself out there. And what's interesting is that with the podcast, I shouldn't say all I was doing was talking about me and my journey and my love of coffee and so on. But I was approached by CAA Manitoba just out of the blue. I'm just going to say it's out of the blue because I wasn't expecting it. And it was a contact of mine that I used to work with many years ago at CAA. And it was actually one of her marketing persons, people who said, Genny does this coffee with Genny B. You should maybe talk to her, because what they were doing is this Manitoba Made at CAA. And they were featuring Stone City coffee roasters. So coffee with Genny B, it just made sense. And when she wanted to talk to me about opportunities, I'm thinking, yeah, something small, no big deal. Which turns out that they want to sponsor 2 of my podcast episodes. I did a video with the president of CA Manitoba, and it was videotaped. And so she said, and this is going to be a series of possible interviews and sponsored podcasts. So just, I want to say it fell in my lap. And it's interesting because I said to my husband one day, I was talking about, my work at the university and so on. And I said, I'm so lucky. And he said, luck has nothing to do with it. It's all your years of hard work, experience, knowledge, putting yourself out there, right? Putting yourself out there. And when you manifest and put yourself out to the universe responds. And so that's what's happened for me.
The biggest thing with monetizing Instagram or podcast is putting yourself out there. You send every company 3, 4, 5 emails till they reply, because the HR person, the marketing person, anyone might have switched. They said no at first and then they switch. The key is to let them know what your podcast is about, how your podcast can benefit their company, and how you would like to speak about them on your podcast, and then ask them if they see room to collaborate. And so many times, again, women aren't asking for these things when the money is literally, the companies are like, please, somebody, I want to market this. And they're waiting, just like Jenny said, it fell into her lap. Well, I'm sure somebody told somebody about that, right? But if Jenny or anyone else reaches out to these companies, even more, the sponsorships will keep coming.
And from my fundraising experience, I always believe that if you don't ask, you don't get. And people but seriously, but people have actually said to me, donors have said, I didn't give because nobody asked me. I was willing to give, but nobody asked. And so absolutely, put it out there, ask, because you know what? No is not always no. No is maybe not right now, but maybe later on.
Wow. Shalinda, I was going to ask you now, frequency. How often should you be posting? And does regularity have anything to play in it? As far as like maybe getting more viewers or listeners, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, listeners for sure. Yeah. And hey, I mean, a lot of people do have a video component to their podcasts. It all depends on what kind of content you want to provide your viewers or your listeners. But in terms of a podcast, I mean, I'm a big fan of at least a episode per week, because you're making a date with your listeners. You want them to feel a part of your community. You want them to feel engaged with on the regular. You want to check in with them. They want to check in with you. I think that, at least bare minimum, an episode a week for sure.
Wow, that's a lot of work. But for you, Linda, now having your podcast, how has that changed you, confidence-wise, dealing, I guess, with clients now?
You know, it's interesting to have clients who will reach out to me who will say, you know, I met you somewhere and then I went and I binged your podcast. And I think that's a great tool that you've got so that somebody gets familiar with your voice, gets familiar with your values, you know, your personality, and thinks, okay, I could work with her, you know, like I get her. And I do the same thing. You know, if I'm looking to work with somebody, I'll go in and check out their podcast and, you know, spend some time with them and go, oh yeah, I want more of this person, you know, and I think that's the key. I want more, you know, like I love how you said that, Shalinda. It's you're making a date with the person. It's an invitation to work with them, and I think that's a great way of looking at it.
Well, I love your story, Natalie and Shalinda, Sick and Successful, and I think that the common denominator is all of you have such great stories, and you're right. It comes with that one story. And you're still doing Sick and Successful?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And have you heard any feedback from women and probably and men too, and anybody listening?
Oh, absolutely. Shalinda, do you want? I feel like I'm talking so much. So do you want to?
I literally talk for a living, so take it away, Natalie. You go for it.
So we did season 1 of Sick and Successful right when we started our podcasting business, SNS podcasting, that's evolved. And then we actually took a year-long break over the pandemic. I gave birth and had a lot of postpartum anxiety and really struggled. Shalinda was going through the pandemic as well and was struggling also. So we meant to not pause. I thought I was going to be able to continue recording after having a baby. Well, that's first time mom syndrome. And then second of all, we were going to pause for a month or two. It ended up being a year. And then we kept trying to record. We recorded 4 episodes. And they literally disappeared off of a computer. We tried again and we tried again, and it was just like, what is wrong? Then we realized we were focusing in season 1 a lot on sickness. The pandemic happened, we evolved. I had a baby, Shalinda's life changed. Like we just evolved, and we were like, season 2 is all about success. And the amount, well, our business this month has never been, we have quadrupled our business. Everything is, the amount of reviews we're getting, the amount of feedback we're getting women in our DMs saying, like, number one, where can I send you money? Like, how can I work with you? How can I get on with your team? But number two, like, I've never gotten this much advice from just a podcast. I've never had this much tangible actions to take. I've never had this much inspiration on being successful just from one spot. So it's really cool to see and have our podcast evolve in that way while still keeping the name Sick and Successful.
I wanted to speak to that question you had about consistency in podcasts. And I love this concept more and more, is that women in business use consistency to beat themselves up. Unless I post 2 times a day on Instagram and I have a podcast every, twice a week, I might as well not do anything, right? It's kind of that all or nothing. It has to be super regimented and every day, and I have to do this. And I think that is a very old school of business thought that isn't really working for women. I think women need to be focused a little bit more on self-compassion, on recognizing the cycles of life. I had a baby, like Natalie, that's a big change, and saying, maybe I could give myself a little bit of a grace. I don't have to hammer this out just on that, that schedule. Like, I think having a little bit more of a recognition that our value doesn't just come from that very boxed version of what we're supposed to be. Our value can come from, I'm doing the best I can and I'm putting this out, and that can actually inspire other women to say, hey, she's doing it. She's got a baby in one hand, or she's, she's not showing up perfectly, but she's still doing it. Maybe I could do it. If I don't have to adhere to this strict standard, maybe there's room for me. Maybe there's room for my voice. Maybe there's room for this imperfect human side of me to show up.
Oh, most definitely. I think so. Genny, before we wrap things up, what's coming up the pike for Genny B?
Well, there's actually quite a few things that are coming up, but before I get there, I just want to very quickly talk about how wonderful it's been working with Natalie and Shalinda on this podcast, because when I jumped in feet first, I knew nothing about podcasting, nothing really, and they've been so wonderful helping guide me and give me the support, because you have those doubts. It's like, I'd always be asking Shalinda, okay, so how did I sound? How was that podcast? And just like needing that reassurance, and now I feel so more. I feel so much more comfortable in my skin and being able to tell my story and excited to do it every week. And it's not a chore for me. It's something I look forward to doing and really opening myself up to all kinds of things. But in answer to your question is, I'm looking at different things. I want to do a coffee night. So I want to brand it Coffee Night with Genny B, where once a month we're at a coffee shop and we're doing cuppings and tastings and education, and I did a demo with Jay from Colossimos, and it was amazing. And so this is what I want to start doing, and branding product, and who knows? My son said to me, he said, Mom, he says, I'm so happy for you. He said, maybe one day you'll be on the Joe Rogan show. And I said to him, I said, well, maybe one day I'll have my own radio show.
Oh.
Ooh, love that.
Well, you know what? Congratulations to both of you, Shalinda and Natalie. I mean, Linda and Genny are, I guess, two shining examples. And if there's women out there that want to try and do this, I think go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we actually we have created a program versus just one-on-one coaching. And it's crazy because this week is the week that we've launched it, and it's called Ready Set Record, where we have a group container teaching them how to edit, teaching them how to do everything themselves at a lower price point, because we realized there's so many women who want to do this but maybe can't afford the higher price point, but also don't want to MacGyver. So at the moment we have 18 beautiful souls who are ready to go, ready to start their podcast starting October 6th. And our goal is to help 30 women to jump off with 30 reviews, to jump off with 30 supports doing it at the same time. And it's so cool. And it's just been like, oh, I have goosebumps talking about it.
Well, and for you, Shalinda, coming with a radio background, and you said, yes, my voice, I talk for a living. What is it kind of like for you now, being a mentor, but in a different realm of podcasting?
Honestly, it's such a nice, I love taking the back seat and giving these women the chance to be the ones behind the mic. And I'm the one who gets to edit these episodes typically. I mean, every single one of Linda's episodes that you hear, I've had to listen and edit that. And same with Genny, so it's kind of cool to be able to take that back seat and not be the one, front and center behind the mic speaking. And it's just such a rewarding position to be in because of what I've been so lucky to do in my professional life in radio.
Oh, well, congratulations to all of you. So it's the
All in Gold podcast.
And the is the, right?
Yep.
The All in Gold podcast, Coffee with Genny B, SNS Creative, or Sick and Successful. Congratulations, ladies, and let's say all power to women in Winnipeg.
Yay!
Hey. Thank you,
Thank
Tracy.
Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. So tell me what's up. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you. Girl, you know what's up. Say I'm feeling you. And I'm holding you. So tell me what's up. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up.
Welcome back to Hue at Home. Coming up, you're going to meet a young singer-songwriter, Clarissa Diokno, who, let's just say, is all about girl power. Hello, Clarissa. Welcome to Hue at Home. I know it's virtual, but wow, congratulations. Your new single, Bad, can I say is one bad single, but bad in a good way.
Thank you. I was hoping it wasn't actually bad.
No. Oh, so, you're from Kitchener, Ontario. Let's talk about getting into the music industry when, most people dream of going to Toronto, and probably maybe you will too. But what is it like being in Kitchener, trying to be a singer-songwriter?
Well, what's funny is I actually came from the GTA, so like the Greater Toronto area, just outside. But I went to Waterloo for school, and I just ended up staying after I graduated, and then moved to downtown Kitchener, and I've just been here for a few years. I really love the community here, and I feel like if I tried to pursue the same things in a bigger city like Toronto or LA or Nashville, I may get lost in the crowd. I don't know, but I feel like it'd be a little bit easier to stand out in a smaller city.
Oh, and speaking about standing out, Clarissa, what do young musicians like yourself have to do in order to stay viable in in front of people's faces and trying to build up your fan base and all those things?
I think the most important thing is to always connect with like the fans and just always keep that connection going consistently, and just, you know, posting a lot of content, even though it takes a lot of time to do it and like prepare all the content and post it. Like I don't even post daily, but I try to do as much as I can to keep the people notified about what I'm doing all the time. And I also do weekly live streams, so I can keep in touch that way as well. So I think it's really important to keep that connection going.
So you do keep socially connected. Wow, that's a lot on your plate. What things do you like to talk about then? Because I mean, to keep that conversation going.
I know, right? Honestly, it's everyday life. So I stream like twice a week, every week. And a lot of the same time, it's the same people that come, which is really cool, because it's like, oh, hey, maybe like I have a loyal fan base. But we talk about like what we eat, because I'm such a foodie, and food is like one of the big things that we talk about on my live streams. Talk about music. I always ask them like what they did on the weekend, just anything. I want it to be a safe and comfortable space for them to just be themselves and talk about whatever they want to talk about within reason.
Well, and that is so true, especially in the world that we're living in now, and having to spend so much time either isolated or in a bubble or talking on Zoom or on all of these things, and not really having that human connection. How have you dealt through all of this for yourself personally?
Well, so I'm actually a homebody. I don't mind being at home alone for like long periods of time, but I'm so connected like online. I'm always chatting with my friends and family like every day. So it didn't really particularly bother me that I had to like stay home all the time, because I'm so used to it anyway. It's funny because I feel like I'm 50-50 down the middle for introverted and extroverted, so I can do both.
Well, and you'd mentioned you have done some live performances, so what was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was so incredible to be back playing for a real live audience, because, you know, over the past 2 years I've just been singing in front of a screen. So it was so nice to see, you know, smiling faces, people singing along to songs. It's been over 2 years since I had a live gig, and I just played two just this past week. So it was just amazing to be back.
Aw, and you did say that you're kind of like an introvert. So how do you convert an introvert to being on stage and to be a performer and project and talk to the audience and be an extrovert?
I feel like I could still work on my stage banter, because like the singing part, I'm so into it. I love it. The talking could probably use a little work. We'll see. But as I said, I feel like I'm literally down the middle with introversion and extroversion. So I think I can turn it on sometimes, because you have to, especially like in this industry. You gotta, you know, be out there, and you want people to notice you and stuff, right? So I gotta force myself sometimes.
Well, hey, all you have to do is talk about food, and I think you'll get the crowd going.
Yes.
And now getting into songwriting and doing the music, which part do you like better?
Ooh, so the songwriting versus the
music.
Like, okay. That's a tough one. I guess it depends on the mood that I'm in. Mm-hmm. But I would say I was more overall, I really love performing live and putting on a show and getting the crowd like super into it. Like I get so much adrenaline from that, like all the energy. But at the same time, like when I'm at home, I love being at home, and I just have my keyboard, put some moody lights on, and just like write whatever I'm feeling. It's so hard to say which I like more. It just depends on like the setting and what I'm feeling.
And I guess, where do you want to go in the future, Clarissa? More music,
You know,
more shows?
Oh yeah, I would definitely love to. It's probably not for a while, but I would love to have a tour of some sort, like even if it's just across Canada or into the US or into Europe, or just open for someone really big like Bruno Mars. I love him.
Well, who doesn't?
He's incredible. But yeah, touring and recording albums. Mm-hmm. It's just the beginning right now, though, but I can't wait to see what's in store.
Aw. And do you sometimes think that, well, yeah, you are a little bit of a role model for other young girls like yourself, maybe wanting to pursue a career just like you're doing right now?
Oh, I love that. So I've actually had a couple messages from like young girls that I've met in my live streams. They're just saying that like I've inspired them to start like singing or playing piano, and it just feels so good to have someone say that you inspired them. When sometimes I'm just like, oh, me? No. It's just a beautiful thing, like inspiration.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I think that having the courage, but also the confidence to pursue something like this too, Clarissa, is really important. But also to be able to say and you put it out there on how you feel, I think is really important.
For sure, I think it's important to tell your story. And I'm so used to doing cover songs because I did the whole cover band thing, posted lots of YouTube covers, and now it's just finally time to, write what's in my heart and my soul and just share it with the world, even though it's scary at times, but
Well, no,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And how do you work the old social media and comments that might come up there? That can be hurtful. How do you handle
Oh, like the negative comments and stuff. Yeah, so, every time I get like a downvote on YouTube, I'm kind of just like, oh, someone doesn't like me or my music, but it's kind of just like, hey, as long as you're making them feel something, whether it be even some kind of negativity towards you, it's like you like made an impact on them, which I think is pretty cool. But it's like you can't please everyone. Not everyone can like you, and that's totally fine, right?
Oh, wow. No, I think that you're going to please and make a lot of people happy. So you said that you are going to do a song. So what are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play my new single, Bad. We're going to do a super chill, stripped down version of it.
Oh, thanks so much, Clarissa.
Thank you.
You said that I gave up. I don't think that's true. It's just that I don't feel the same way that you do. You're stuck on a feeling. I wish I were too. Wherever my heart went, it broke yours right in two. And when the time heals all your wounds, you will see that I wasn't meant to be with you. 'Cause I'm bad, so bad. I can't run from the lights, got me torn up inside once again to no end. You begged me not to leave, waiting so patiently, then I go my own way, leaving you in the dark where you thought we'd go up. 'Cause I'm bad, so bad, what you had. I wish you were different, I know you do too. Got up in the moment, I realized we're through. Guilt and regret, sadness and shame. All of these feelings are driving me insane. And when the time heals all your wounds, you will see that I wasn't meant to be with you. that you had.
We want to thank all of our special guests on today's show and leave you with this question. If you had the chance to have your own podcast, what would it be about? And who would be your first guest? We want to know, so send us an email to hello@ilikehue.com, or you can message us on Facebook and Instagram at iLikeHue. But for now, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time on Hue at Home.
Ever my heart went, it broke yours right in two. And when the time heals all